Aha, we're early today. Surprise, surprise. So, enough about Chedorlaomer. Let's move on to see what happens, though, in the story. Verse 7, it talks about this Chedorlaomer and his group of soldiers and his other kings. They turned back and came to En-Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and attacked all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hazon Tamar, and the king of Sodom, king of Gomorrah, king of Admah, king of Zeboim, and king of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and joined together in the battle of the valley of Siddim against Chedorlaomer of Elam, title king of nations, Amraphel, king of Shinar, Ariarch, king of Elasar, the 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of asphalt pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled. Some fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. Then they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions and went their way. They also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. So, here's a little something to think about. When we look back in Genesis 13, verse 12, it says that he pitched his tent towards Sodom, even as far as Sodom. In the Hebrew, it's towards Sodom, in the direction of Sodom. And now we find that he is living in Sodom. And within a couple chapters, we're going to see that Lot is actually one of the rulers at Sodom, sitting in the gate. And you know, I've got a lot of stuff to get done today, and that's actually why I started a few minutes early. And so maybe I'll just keep this one short and simple today. Really short for my length, normal. We need not be surprised when we pitch our tents in a certain direction to then all of a sudden find ourselves moving in, to then later finding ourselves to be the leadership of that place. You see, we just need to think about what way we're pointed, because we have a tendency to drift, and we have a tendency to slowly move in a certain direction. And so, what direction are we headed? Lot made a choice. I'm going to pitch my tent towards Sodom. Well, next thing you know, he's living in Sodom. A little bit of compromise can often lead to a lot of problems. And sometimes we think it's just a small thing. But quite often that one small thing leads to the next, which leads to the next, which leads to the next. And at first we were just figure out which way we wanted to point our tent. I mean, that's all. Do I point the tent this way? Do I point the tent that way? Is it that big of a deal? And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm living in Sodom. How did I ever get here? You got there by a lot of small choices. I like it. I think Leonard Ravenhill pointed out, we see some Christian often in sin, and we say, oh, they're backslidden. And he goes, no, they're just deep in sin. The backsliding started when they quit going to the prayer meeting. The backsliding started when they quit attending the evening service. The backsliding started when their Sunday morning's attendance got spotty. Them now being back into addiction, caught up in adultery, in some far off place, that's not the backsliding. It's the backsliding that got them there. And so we need to think about these little things. When we drop the Bible study, midweek study we've been going to, when we drop attendance and things, when we quit our morning devotions, when we quit those things that we were doing. I was reading my Bible reading plan so faithfully, but then I stopped. And once again, we have a tendency to degenerate. We have a tendency to break down. Things don't naturally get better on their own, and that's kind of like the whole idea of why evolution is things don't get better on their own. Things just get continually worse on their own. My phone went off. That's embarrassing. I usually have my volume off. But I say this, things typically get worse and worse and worse when left alone. Have any of you guys ever planted a garden? Remember how your garden, when you didn't care for it for a month, was large, luscious, and weed-free? No, it's like you have to be actively removing weeds from your lawn or garden to have a weed-free garden. There's no just hitting cruise control. That's the Christian walk. It's the climbing of the greased pole. You've got to be making an effort to not pitch your tent towards Sodom. Otherwise, one day you're going to find yourself in Sodom. And that's not backsliding. It's the product of backsliding. So, just be thinking about it. Do you attend church like you used to? Honestly, I think church attendance is one of the greatest tests of where our heart's at. Because quite often, when our heart's in a good place, we long for fellowship with our friends and family. And quite often, when I'm in a bad place, I don't feel like it. Don't want to. I'm not experiencing, church isn't as good as it once was. Do you think it's because all of a sudden is your pastor preaching differently? Did they all of a sudden change all the music? Did church change? Or did you? So again, slippery slope. I took my short thing and I made it longer, but emphasizing and re-emphasizing the fact that backsliding is what causes us to fall into sin. It's not what you call it. When we stop doing those things and stop making those little choices every day, throughout your day, small choices, it adds up and it determines your direction and where you are. So, I hope you guys are making those wise choices. I hope you guys will be at church on Sunday, wherever you go to church. I hope that you guys are actively involved and you don't just check that Sunday morning box and feel like you're good for the week. I can only imagine what my wife would be like if I only hung out with her once a week and then figured, hey, we'll be good till next week, right? I've been so busy lately, I think she's barely getting more than that. So pray for us that we get all this stuff done we need to get done. God bless you guys. Have an amazing day. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye, Grandpa. What about Arla? You don't want to say goodbye to Arla?
Bye, Arla.
I know, right? What about Rick? You want to say goodbye to Rick?
Bye, Rick.
There you go. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great day.